So I'm making this video because I've had a couple of calls recently where people are really asking me to explain how you compete with that new love. If somebody's kind of come in and broken up your relationship, or maybe it's just a relationship that happened after the breakup with you. But whatever the case is, nothing can trigger that sense of loss, that sense of panic, that desperation, that intense sense of pain, sometimes more effectively than the person that you love or the person that you even maybe thought you were over finding love with somebody else. It's a really powerful instinct. And it's not something that we decide. It's not a logical choice. It's an instinct. It's a sense of loss. One of the things that's confusing about us is that we think we're more logical than we are. We're actually based a lot more on fear of loss, fear of regret, especially when it comes to relationship dynamics. There's fear of loss. There's fear of regret. There's a massive punch to the ego. An ego wound can actually make even a narcissist stop, take a deep breath, and feel like they're in love, as strange as that sounds. I've talked to a lot of narcissists that when they lose somebody that they thought they would never lose, it creates a deep panic in them. And even in that kind of a situation, they'll come back to you with an intensity because we're effectively wired that when we feel a sense of consistent value from somebody, when we feel like somebody's given us a consistent sense of worth, it makes us feel good. It boosts us up. We can start to take for granted that person, but we're still relying on that sense of value that they give us. As strange as that sounds. So when we lose the affection or the attention and the admiration and the desire from somebody that we've grown accustomed to thinking would always view us in a certain way, it's going to hurt. So it's one of the more powerful, one of the more intense emotions you can have when the person that you love or the person that you thought you were over even starts dating somebody else. That's a punch to our sense of worth, a punch to our sense of value. And it'll trigger some things that go on with you internally that maybe even you don't understand. I've talked to a lot of clients. Sometimes they'll call me and say, the confusing thing is I was in the power position. While we were together, I always knew that they were luckier to be with me than I was to be with them. I never really expected them to break up with me. Now that they've broken up with me, I always imagined if they ever did, even though it was unexpected, I'd be fine. I could find somebody on their level a lot easier than they can find somebody on my level. But now that they've broken up with me, it's flipped. I can't believe how much I'm thinking about them. I can't believe how much it hurts. That's a punch to the ego. We're wired to instinctively have a sense of loss when somebody who's given us a sense of value, given us a sense of importance, suddenly takes it away. It can really do a kind of quick mind screw with you that you don't even understand. So one of the first things to realize is what it triggers in you isn't something that you can just consciously decide not to feel. You're going to get cortisol. You're going to get vasopressin. You're going to get adrenaline released into your blood. And all of a sudden, you're going to feel this sense of panic. It'll also kind of rewrite reality and history. In other words, you'll remember them in a more elevated sense. They're better than you thought they were. They're greater. They're harder to replace than you always viewed them to be before this breakup, before they started dating somebody else. You'll also start to magnify your own issues. And if you took them for granted, which any who's been in a long-term adult relationship for any amount of time, of course you're going to take that other person for granted. Sadly, it's just part of human nature. But when you're going through this really painful, difficult time, especially with the jealousy and the extra emotional punch that comes with them dating somebody else, all of your mistakes are going to be magnified. They're not as irreplaceable as they're going to seem. You didn't really screw things up to the level that you're going to convince yourself of. Or maybe you did. If you did, that's going to make that jealousy and it's going to make that pain even worse. But what I'm trying to say is you can't trust your view of reality right now. You can't trust how you see them. You can't trust how you see yourself. And if they've started dating somebody else, you're going to go ahead and paint the picture that they just found the person that they're going to spend the rest of their lives with. You'll just kind of imagine the wedding announcement is coming soon. They're going to get married in a castle. He'll probably ride a horse and she'll be on the back of it. They're going to adopt 3 children from Africa. They're going to start living this happily ever after future that should have been yours if only you had woken up. And now, because they're dating somebody else, you've got to do something. This instinct is going to hit you. Logic and fear are going to team up and just overwhelm your mind, even if you're an impressive person. And that's where it gets confusing. A lot of times the person going through this sees themselves as this consistently high value, exceptional worth. They know that they can get somebody else. They know that they've been in relationships. They've been through breakups before. Why is this so painful? So it can really kind of catch you off guard. And that pain, the shock of knowing that they're with somebody else, can actually magnify the sense of value that they have, magnify the sense of hopelessness, the sense of dread. Fear and common sense, or what feels like fear and logic, will double team your mind and convince you that you've got to go get them, that you've got to compete with that other person. And it works in all the movies, right? You always compete with the other person in the rom-com. in the great romance movies and stories that we've all seen growing up. The secret to getting that person back is fighting for them. Prove to them that they have value, especially if you feel like you caused this breakup because you took them for granted, because you didn't give them the sense of value, you didn't give them the sense of importance while you had them. So now guilt, pain, logic, it's all going to hit you and leave you absolutely convinced that the only thing to do is to pour your heart out. The other aspect that comes into play is you'll think, but it's authentic. I don't want to do no contact. No contact is me playing a game, and playing a game is what got me to this point in the first place. I didn't take them as seriously as I should have. I didn't value them the way that I should have when I had them. Now that they're gone and with somebody else, in a way, I deserved this. So I need to suffer the consequences. And one of the ways that I suffer is that I swallow my pride. I humble myself and I beg them for another chance. I need to remind them of how great we were together. And the more I express my pain, the more I apologize, the more I beg, the more I plead, the more I write these long letters or long text or long emails or reach out through friends, the more ways I reach out to them, even if it's annoying and even if it's a little humiliating for me, it's good that I'm having to suffer this pride humiliation. It's more evidence to them that I've learned my lesson. And my agony for them, combined with my refusal to stop chasing them, will be this ultimate evidence that I've learned my lesson. It'll be the ultimate evidence of how much they mean to me. It'll be the proof that I'm the one they're supposed to be with because I love them so much. None of it's true. All of that is just going to overinflate their already overflowing sense of self-worth. So if they've been with you for a while, it's one of the things that happens when limerence wears off. If you've been in a long-term adult relationship for a while, then that sense of excitement, what they call the honeymoon stage, or what we refer to as limerence, that's worn off. In other words, that sense of excitement has dropped. Their sense of value to you and from you has dropped. Well, if they've started dating somebody else, then chances are they're in limerence with that other person. That limerence with the other person is going to overflow that sense of excitement, that sense of confidence, that sense of intensity that everybody loves when they're falling in love. But now they have it with somebody else. If you jump in, say their ego is right here. You're overflowing that sense of ego because now that ego is being fed from two sources. There's the new person that they're in limerence with, and now there's you, the person that maybe they've humbled. Maybe they finally got you to realize and respond to them and treat them like they're the high value person that they always wanted you to see them as. And now you're giving it to them more than you have before. You're chasing, you're pursuing, you're apologizing, you're doing anything you can to try to win them back. But now they have two people giving them that sense of value. That is a very addictive position to be in. Being chased by the person that was in the power position in a long-term relationship with you, now you're in the power position and you have this new person. So that it doesn't actually work to pull them back. What motivation do they have to disconnect from somebody that's giving them this new sense of excitement and importance and value to go back to a relationship that they're going to be halfway convinced you're only chasing because you wounded their ego? What motivation do they have to break this new connection where they're getting that limerence, that sense of excitement, that sense of importance, that sense of intensity from this new person to go back to a relationship where the limerence has already dropped? And maybe in that relationship with you, they didn't feel as valued. They didn't feel as chased. They didn't feel as cherished as they do in this new one. They'd be much better off staying in this new relationship, enjoying the perks of having you flood their ego and the new person flood their ego. Most people aren't going to step outside of that. If you can take a deep breath and realize that limerence that they had with you, which was temporary, is also going to be temporary with that new person. Especially if you don't magnify and boost it by pursuing them. Give them time. As painful as it sounds, let them have life without you. Let them dive into that other relationship as fully as they can. Two things can break limerence really effectively. Number one, time and reality. In other words, one of the things that people say when you get married, the honeymoon stage usually doesn't last too long after marriage. Well, sadly, uncertainty is one of the pillars. It's one of the motivating triggers of limerence. When you're with somebody new and exciting, you hope they're going to want to see you next week. You hope they're going to want to see you next month. You hope that you're going to end up with that person, but you don't know. So part of that excitement, part of that rush is not knowing if you're going to end up together. If they broke up with you, then they probably had the certainty that you're there. This new excitement with the new person is in somewhat based on uncertainty. So let them have as much time together. Let them kind of dive into each other and learn each other's flaws. Let them see the drawbacks. Let them see that limerence is telling each of them that the other one is perfect. Oh, I found my Mr. or Mrs. Right. I found my soulmate. All the things they told you, they're probably telling this new person. If you dive in and try to stop that new relationship, you become a barrier. You become an obstacle. In other words, you just romanticized that new relationship. Now they have something to bond with and to overcome. You. Has he talked to you? Has she reached out to you again? Do they want to meet you? Do they want to talk to you? Are they still fighting for the relationship? Did you tell them that we're going to be together now? Do they understand that we found our person and that we're going to be together forever and that they lost their chance with you? So you're just romanticizing what you're trying to stop. And you're not actually projecting strength. You're not actually proving loyalty. You're not showing that you're so sorry for the times that you took them for granted. All that you're actually doing is convincing them that you want them out of desperation. Desperation is never attractive. Now, you might feel desperate because you know that the two of you belong together. But if the two of you really belong together, then there's not this desperate need to chase and to pursue and to convince. The more you chase and pursue, the more you're accidentally lowering your value. They'll take the ego boost of your pursuit and add it to this new relationship, that new sense of value. So now they'll associate being with this new person with this new stage where they feel more confident, more secure, more excited about their future than ever, which then convinces them that breaking up with you was the right thing to do. If breaking up with them wasn't the right thing to do, I wouldn't feel this excited. I wouldn't feel this much confidence in the new person that I'm with. I never thought I'd break up with them before, but now not only have I broken up with them, I feel confident in my decision to not be with them. However, if they're with somebody else and you're not chasing them, especially if you started chasing them, if you shift that strategy, in other words, if you've gotten them used to the idea that you're in pursuit, that you're trying to win them back, and then you stop, it's like a pattern disruption. It's like whether they know it or not, they've gotten used to the idea that you regret losing them. That's an ego boost to them. When they sense that ego boost is gone, they will feel it. Sometimes you stopping the pursuit does two things for you. Number one, it gives them a sense of loss because they've gotten used to the idea that you desperately want them back. They're going to notice that lack of pursuit. And it also gives them a sense of loss. Now with this new relationship, before, as long as they knew you were in their back pocket or you were their safety net, they don't have any reason to feel like it's a risk to be with this new person. They still have you on the porch. They still have you within arm's reach. If something doesn't work out here, they've got you right there. Now they get a sense that, well, if it doesn't work out here, I don't know if that person is still there. So now this new relationship actually costs them something. There's a risk involved. The other thing that it does, it gives them time to get to know that new person. The number one enemy of limerence is time. Time will always beat limerence. It'll break it down. Let them have as much time together. Let them understand each other's flaws. Let them have their first argument. And you'll think, well, no, when I play it out of my mind, they're happily ever after. She's Cinderella. He's Prince Charming. They don't fight. They just live happily ever after. That's not reality. They're going to fight. They're going to come to the same sad conclusion that reality never lives up to fantasy. If they don't fight, then that means they don't have a really good relationship because conflict is a normal part of a healthy relationship. You take conflict out, then you have a broken relationship. One of you is lying, one of you is pretending, or one of you is narcissistic and manipulating. So let them have enough time to have their conflict come up and prove that this isn't the fairy tale ending that they thought they'd found in each other. But breakups are hard enough. Breakups that involve somebody else and feeling like you're losing the love of your life to somebody that you know they don't belong with, somebody that you know that you're better than, that you fit better than. You have the memories. You have those precious moments. You have those intimate moments. You have the plans together. You knew what your future was going to be like. If only you hadn't messed so many things up. You're also going to get flooded by this compulsion to take a deep dive look at yourself and find out all the things that you screwed up. You'll identify all the little moments that you wish you could have back in time. So don't let yourself go down that path of convincing yourself that all of your mistakes were what cost you this relationship. Every relationship has mistakes. Look, if you did something that is worth you beating yourself up for, then beat yourself up for it a little bit. But don't think that the way back through penance, the way to prove to that person that you're really sorry for all your mistakes, is to just consistently humiliate yourself by chasing and apologizing time after time after time. You're not proving sorrow. You're not proving depth of love. You're accidentally proving that you're not strong enough to live without them. If you're not strong enough to live without them, you're not strong enough to re-attract them. Nobody actually wants to be with somebody who can't live without them. That's more like worship than it is love, and it's never attractive. So stop thinking that your pain is the best evidence that you can present to them that the two of you belong together. It won't be received that way. It'll actually hurt how they see you, and it'll hurt how you see yourself. So take a deep breath and just kind of give yourself a moment to not trust this moment. It might be true that right now they're more in love with them. It might be true that right now they don't ever want you back. But right now is just right now. Not too long ago, there was a time when they probably said they wanted to be with you forever. And they meant it. It didn't mean it was true. It just means it was true in that moment. That same principle is working for you right now. It's just really hard to believe. So give them time to actually be in limerence with that other person. Stop magnifying the attraction that they have for each other by your relentless pursuit. It's accidentally reframing you as somebody too weak to be attracted to. And it's boosting their ego. They'll take that ego boost and use it to invest in their new relationship. So just give yourself a moment to breathe. And remember, this moment is just this moment. But every situation is different. I do one-on-one coaching for situations like this. So if I can help, please give me a call. You can find me at realcoachken.com, and I'll be back soon. Thanks a lot.